Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Irfan and this video is brought to you by Mavio. Follow us on social media and let's connect and build together. This lecture focuses on clusters in accessibility and spatial statistics. We already discussed and we already looked into some spatial statistics and how we can project our health data into maps and visualizations. But today we will be looking into identifying public health hotspots and deserts through the combination of mathematical foundations and GIS analysis. So let's get into this. So until now, we have been projecting our health data onto maps and for visualization purposes, but we have not been distinguishing between random chance and significant occurrences. So the foundational theory covers that and it tells us and it distinguishes between these random chances and significant occurrences that if an area has a high number of diseases and has a very high intensity of diseases, is that random or is there an underlying reason behind it? So there are two effects for this theory. The first one is the first order effects, in which the variations are based on background populations, simply meaning that more cases are in high density cities and highly populated areas. So there is no underlying reason behind it, but it is just because that area is highly populated. So the number of disease or the number of medical facilities, etc., is higher there and the intensity is higher there. But on the other hand, in second order effects, there is an interactions between cases, like there could be localized outbreaks or point source pollutions. So it could be that an outbreak started there in that area, or it could be that there is a toxic source in that area, and that is why the disease intensity is higher in that area. So there is some kind of underlying reason behind the intensity being higher in that area. But the core question is that is this cluster a random occurrence or a result of a social or environmental cause? So to scan those reasons, to scan those clusters, there is this method which is called the Kulldorff scan statistic, which is basically a moving window which scans across the map using circles or cylinders to identify areas where observed cases exceeds our expected values, and it uses spatio-temporal, or it is capable of detecting outbreaks over both space and time. So it identifies transient hotspots, and most importantly it is statistically rigor. So it calculates the likelihood ratio to test a null hypothesis of a random spatial distribution. I mean, there are other methods as well, like the focused cluster testing. This is a statistical approach used to determine if cases are clustered around a specific localized source. So it is, instead of scanning the whole map and scanning globally, it focuses on a localized source and a point of it is point of interest driven. For example, if there is a toxic site, it will be focused on that site and that intense site where the intensity is very high. So it uses a fixed number of cases to test proximity. And the contrast between this method and the Kulldorff's is that instead of global scanning, it uses the localized source and it is more about one specific location. Other than that, we need to measure accessibility goes beyond simple distance. And to measure healthcare accessibility, there are three factors that we need to consider. The first one is the most obvious one. It's spatial, the geographic location and physical proximity of the medical facilities. So that's the spatial factor. Then there is the temporal factor, which is the actual travel time, accounting for traffic, transport, and transport modes, etc. So this is a factor which is important and which needs to be considered in measuring healthcare accessibility. And then there is the social factor. These factors include affordability, language barriers, and culture, etc. So these are the factors that we need to consider to measure healthcare accessibility. And to measure that accessibility, we use a mathematical method, a two-step floating catchment area method, which provides a sophisticated look at the supply and demand. So in the first step, we we calculate or we find the provider ratio, which is basically for each healthcare provider, we calculate the capacity of that provider, that medical facility, and divide it by the population within that specific travel time. It is not directly dependent on distance, but instead of it is dependent on travel time. And in the second step, we measure or calculate the accessibility score. So for each residential area, sum of the provider to population ratio that we found that we calculated in step one for all providers reachable within that area. So we sum those ratios for all providers in that area, and it gives us an accessibility score for that area. It could be county, it could be a state or something, and the resulting score represents the total healthcare availability for people living in the area, and it accounts for competition for resources, it respects travel thresholds, and it highlights inequity across regions. And instead of focusing on distance from facilities, it focuses on travel time, and instead of focusing on equality, it focuses on equity. And by measuring those healthcare accessibility, we find healthcare deserts. These are basically areas where the accessibility score is zero or significantly below the national average. And these regions have, these regions in these regions, the demand heavily outweighs the supply despite physical proximity to the facility. So, mapping these areas reveals structural barriers that distance alone cannot explain, but instead travel time and factors like these. So, the targeting and one intervention is identifying the dead zones of care. So, we need to target these dead zones and to identify them for better planning in the future. There are also gravity models in GIS analysis, and these are the distance decay concept. And these use the distance decay concept. And it assumes that the attractiveness of a facility decreases as the distinct distance to it increases. So it is a modeling, better for modeling real patient choice. So it also considers the distance as the distance grows. The attractiveness or accessibility decreases. So integrates a decay function into the accessibility score. Then the main reason and the main goal of these calculating these scores, etc., is equity and social determinants. So we also need to link these accessibility scores with social vulnerability index, area deprivation index, and what it does for us that analyzing how geography overlaps with race, age, and gender, and come we can then analyze how the geography overlaps with race, age, and income, and we can find how many groups are deprived of medical facilities and medical care. And moving by doing this, we move from equality, which is following same distance, to an outcome that is relative to need or equity. A practical use case of this is the maternal care access. So basically, researchers identified geographic barriers to maternal care in regions, and they mapped high risk pregnancy rates against the accessibility scores, and the outcomes were that they generated a priority list for new clinical placement. So they, by calculating these accessibility scores, they found those dead zones and generated a priority list for new clinic placements. So it proved that the physical distance alone more significant capacity shortages in rural counties. And it was better planning and thus prioritized more clinic placements in areas that were underserved. Next, we have the significance versus visual noise. So there is this thing called eye test trap, because maps can be misleading. What looks like a cluster might just be a high population area. So if we look at a map and we see a intense area, an area where the intensity is very high, we might assume that it is a cluster, but it could be that the population of that area is very high, and that is why that area has so much intensity of the disease or of the medical facilities. So for that to avoid and to get rid of that eye test trap, we do the Monte Carlo, or we run the Monte Carlo simulations, and we run 999 iterations to prove that the cluster result did not happen by chance. Then the analytical deliverable, this is our final the final result of our study or research should be policy advocacy, which is turning data into actionable insights for legislators and health departments and making priority areas. And this research should lead to equity and priority to those and give priority to those areas which are underserved. So core targets are identify significant clusters, map healthcare gaps, and draft policy advocacy briefs, and so to serve those underserved regions. So that was all for spatial statistics and accessibility analysis. And so now let's look in our analysis that we've done and see if this cluster, that this intense area that we see is just because of high population in this area, or are there actually, is this actually a cluster in the availability of medical facility in this area is higher than the other counties. So we will calculate the population and we will calculate the scores, the accessibility scores, and merge these scores with the county geometries and then plot that map, and we get something like this. And to see the health core accessibility scores, we can see that this area, the Atlanta area, is very intense. Their accessibility score is higher, way higher than other counties in the Georgia state. So we can confirm that the medical facilities are in higher availability in this urban area, and we should prioritize making or for legislating of more clinics and medical facilities in other counties of the state. So that's it from my side.